so you can revise them. And we have talked about the non-negative integer powers. But what if the powers are integers that are negative? So if the power is a negative integer, we have some rules to learn. Some of it you already know. Again, my only condition that the base cannot equal 0. That's why he's writing here if A belong to R star and N belong to Z negative. This is a mistake in your booklets. This is page 25. You can make it right. N belong to Z negative, which means the power is a negative integer. Then the first rule, a to the power of negative n. What does this mean? You're going to make the reciprocal as if a is made over 1. Then you're going to make it 1 over a to the power of n, and vice versa. If a to the power of n equals 1 over a to the power of negative n, because we have flip it or make the reciprocal, so the power became negative. So if you look at this example here in the brown rectangle to the right, 3 over 5 to the power of negative 5. If I want to get rid of this negative in the power, then I have to get the reciprocal of the fraction, which is under the power. So 3 over 5 becomes 5 over 3. And as you can see now, my power is positive 5, not negative. Which step we have to learn so you can solve and simplify the problems. Again, look at the example in number 1. Root 5 to the power of 2 equals 1 over root 5 to the power of negative 2. I have changed the power into negative because I wrote the reciprocal of the number. Okay, in example number 2 or rule number 2, as you all know, if you are multiplying and you have the same base, you bring down the base and then you add the powers. So, as you can see, root 3 to the power of 2 times root 3 to the power of negative 2 equals, first we're going to bring down the root 3. Then you add the powers, 2 plus negative 2, any number plus its additive inverse, you will get 0. Then root 3 to the power of 0, any number to the power of 0 equals 1. So we can eliminate this step. Which step I mean? The one with the power 0. I can just say right away that root 7 to the power of 5 times root 7 to the power of negative 5 equals 1. Okay, in this remark, also in your booklets, 0.1, which can also be read as 1/10, can be written also as 1 over 10. So if I flip this fraction to become 10 over 1, I have to make it to the power of a negative number. But what is the power here? If 10 has no power written above it, as you all know, it must be 1. So when I flip it, it becomes 10 to the power of negative 1. Again here, I have 0.01, which can be read as 1/100th, which is 1 over 100. Now the 100 down in the denominator, I can write it as 10 to the power of 2. And when you flip the fraction, you will get 10 to the power of negative 2. And the last one, of course, in the same way, I can say that 1,000th equal 10 to the power of negative 3. You already know from the first term, if you want to get a number out of the square root, you divide it by 2. Like square root of a to the power of 8 equals a to the power of 4. Because we divided 8 by 2, so we get 4. In the same way, we can say square root of 2 all to the power of 8 equals 2 to the power of 4. So what's the difference between the first one and the second one? Yes, the first one, the power was under the root. But here, the root is under the power. But we're going to solve it in the same way. But we can only do this if the power is even. If the power here is even, then you can divide it by 2. And of course, you divide by 3 if it's a cubic root. But right now, we're talking about the square root, which you can divide by 2 only if the power is even. Then, what if the power is odd? What should we do?